friends, I hope you have a wonderful day, and this time I'm gonna be reacting to how Ferrari cheated and still lost. Intrigued just by the word cheated, let's check it out.
How do you cheat in one of the most heavily watched sports in the world, get caught by the FIA, somehow keep all your points, and still lose? Today, we're diving into the wildest technical scandal F1's seen in years. And trust me, the details of this story will blow your mind.
Okay, please do.
Let's go back to 2017. After 3 years of Mercedes winning literally everything in the hybrid era with zero competition, F1 decided it was time for a glow-up. New cars that were wider, lower, meaner, and way faster. The idea? Spice things up a bit and finally give Mercedes someone to fight. And hey, guess what? It actually worked. First race of this season.
The man who can see the crowd now rise to acclaim him, because Sebastian Vettel starts off 2017 by winning the Australian Grand Prix. Ferrari on top, down under.
And it wasn't a fluke. For the first time in years, Ferrari had actual pace. And it looked like we were finally getting a title fight between Hamilton and Vettel.
Hamilton takes the checkered flag and wins the Chinese Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel takes the Bahrain Grand Prix. Vettel blocks him off on the inside. Hamilton goes round the outside to take another Spanish Grand Prix victory. Sebastian Vettel wins the Monaco Grand Prix. He's back on top of the podium.
Then came Baku, and with it, drama.
Backing up the pack a little bit. Oh, he went into it. He might have lost a bit of front wing there, Sebastian Vettel. And he's saying to Hamilton, what did you do?
What?
He brake tested me. What the going on? Vettel literally just came alongside me and turned in and hit me.
The rivalry was real, fans were living for it, and F1 was fun again. Sure, Mercedes still won in the end, but Ferrari genuinely believed they were on the way up. Well, they always do anyway. 2018 was set to be the year. The world hoped to see who'd hit 5 world titles first, Lewis or Seb. In the first few races, they did not disappoint. Vettel came in hot, winning the first 2 rounds.
It is Sebastian Vettel who comes home to win the Australian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel wins the Bahrain Grand Prix.
And then Hamilton clapped back with wins of his own.
He takes the checker flag now to win in Baku. Hamilton takes the win at the Spanish Grand Prix.
Then came the Canadian GP. Ferrari rolled in with a shiny new engine upgrade, and suddenly, boom, they had some mysterious straight line speed out of nowhere. Even just watching it, you could tell something was off. Ferrari had this weird speed boost on the straights, especially down that long one between the hairpin and the last chicane. That weekend, Vettel stuck it on pole and took the win.
Sebastian Vettel wins the Canadian Grand Prix and has led this race from start to finish.
It was kind of weird, right? Gains like that came from years of development, not some random upgrade after a few months tops. Teams could clearly see it in the data. Ferrari suddenly had a noticeable edge on the straights. The boost stuck around, especially at power tracks like Spielberg, Silverstone, Hockenheim, Spa, and Monza. Turns out Mercedes had already complained to the FIA earlier in the season. One of their engineers who used to work at Ferrari told them the Italians were running an extra battery that was giving them an illegal power boost, way over the FIA's limit. And yeah, the second battery was real. Ferrari had been using it since 2014. But after digging into it, the FIA came out and said it was fine. How come? Well, basically, Ferrari was still within the legal power limit. They just delivered it using 2 batteries instead of 1, with a weird, complicated setup. It was technically legal, but yeah, it definitely raised some eyebrows. Obviously, the extra straight line power they suddenly had didn't help ease suspicions, and Ferrari agreed to cooperate with the FIA, who, at some point, and nobody knows exactly when, installed an extra sensor on their battery pack to monitor any irregularities. And buckle up, because this is where things get sketchy as fuck. By the end of the season, the FIA claimed they'd found no issues with Ferrari's battery system. So how do you think they finished the season? With the new pace they showed from Canada onwards, did they go on to win a bunch of races? Nope. Mysteriously, in the second half of the season, their engine performance nosedived. And while Ferrari insisted it had nothing to do with the FIA's new sensor, well, let's just say it all seemed a little suspicious. And even though Ferrari kept working on their engine for the next season, everyone still felt like something was fishy. And that suspicion would totally blow up in 2019. 2019, new season. Could anyone finally match Mercedes? If there was one team everyone was watching, it was Ferrari, with their mysterious, maybe magical, definitely suspicious engine tricks still going strong. Now, to be fair, Mercedes still had the best all-round package and dominated the early part of the season like usual, but Ferrari still had that, wait a second, how are they so fast on the straights kind of speed, especially on the power-hungry tracks. In Bahrain, Leclerc took pole and should have cruised to victory if it weren't for an engine issue that dropped him to P3.
There's something strange with the engine.
Okay, copy that, we are checking it.
There's something strange with the engine.
Oh no, I hope not. Charles Leclerc gets his first podium in Formula One.
Still, he had way better pace than the Mercs that weekend. In Canada, Vettel also stuck it on pole and would have won the race too, if they hadn't taken the win away from him in one of the most controversial calls in years.
Oh, he's gone wide.
Sebastian Vettel goes wide and Lewis Hamilton thought there was a gap, but the wall and Sebastian Vettel moving to the right-hand side closed that gap down.
What was that?
Just got away with an error.
We've got a 5-second time penalty.
I had nowhere to go. Seriously, I had nowhere to go. I didn't see him.
Then came Austria, which is basically 3 long straights with a few corners sprinkled in. And guess what? Yep, another pole for Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc is on pole position with a new track record as well.
Even though the Ferrari engine was clearly cooking, it wasn't exactly turning into wins. Like, sure, no one had a clue where the extra power was coming from, but at the end of the day, their aero package wasn't doing them any favours. But then came the Belgian GP. And let's just say, Ferrari woke up. At Spa, Leclerc grabbed pole, more than 7 tenths ahead of Vettel, who still managed P2, just edging out the Mercs. Then, on Sunday, the Monegasque took his first win ever, holding off Hamilton.
And it's lights out, away we go. Great start from Albon, Sainz installed on the grid. Sebastian Vettel tucks in behind Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton on the inside. Charles Leclerc leads them down through Eau Rouge from Hamilton, and Vettel and Bottas in fourth. Hamilton now through the middle sector is throwing down an epic challenge.
They all want Hamilton's crown, but he's not going to be easily beaten, is he?
First time ever, Charles Leclerc wins a Formula One Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc wins the Belgian Grand Prix.
Next weekend, boom, pole and win again. This time at Monza, Ferrari's home turf.
He wins in Monza. Charles Leclerc is the winner of the 2019 Italian Grand Prix.
Then in Singapore, Leclerc again on pole, and Vettel took the win ahead of him.
Sebastian Vettel.
I didn't know that Leclerc had a so good role. I kind of want to say it's okay. I kind of thought like that he has a rough patch, rough with Ferrari. You know Ferrari.
Vettel takes the checkered flag and wins the Singapore Grand Prix.
After that, Sochi, another pole for Leclerc.
It is 4 poles in a row for Charles Leclerc.
Then Japan, Vettel on pole this time.
Here comes Sebastian Vettel, 4 times a pole sitter. Here at Suzuka, gets a massive round of applause.
That's 5 straight poles and 3 wins in just 5 races. So yeah. What the hell had suddenly happened? If people were already a little suspicious before, now everyone was laser focused on figuring out just where Ferrari's secret sauce was hiding, because it didn't really make sense how they suddenly got that quick. Teams started digging into Leclerc's pole lap at Spa, where he was over 7 tenths faster. Then the next race at Monza, he still got pole, but this time by just 400ths. Kinda weird, right? I mean, if Ferrari supposedly had the best straight line speed, you'd expect Monza, a track basically made of straights, to show an even bigger gap. Well, turns out the real advantage wasn't top speed, it was acceleration. At Parabolica, both Ferrari and Mercedes took the corner pretty much the same, but Ferrari would launch out of it way better, hitting higher speeds down the straight. So, in Spa, with 19 corners compared to Monza's 11, Ferrari had more chances to accelerate. And that's where they were really making the difference. But seriously, what the hell was going on? What were Ferrari actually doing? That's when
They probably were finding some gray areas, right? No? Or yeah, I don't know.
Bull started pointing fingers at one thing in particular, the fuel flow meter. Now, what even is that? Basically, teams are allowed up to 110 kilograms of fuel per race, though they don't usually use that much because it's heavy. But the FIA has a rule: you can't burn more than 100 kilograms an hour. And to enforce that, they use a special sensor, the fuel flow meter. Red Bull thought Ferrari was messing with it, like literally interfering with the sensor to sneak in more fuel and get more power. How? Well, the sensor doesn't constantly read fuel flow. It takes measurements every few seconds, like every 2, 3, maybe 5 seconds, and Red Bull believed Ferrari had figured out the timing and were dumping in extra fuel in between readings, so the sensor wouldn't catch it. Sneaky stuff. But obviously, Red Bull couldn't just throw accusations without proof. So between the Japanese and Mexican GPs, they asked the FIA a very specific question. Hey, is it legal to bypass the fuel flow sensor to sneak in extra fuel between the measurements, or nah? Right before the US Grand Prix, the FIA released a technical directive saying loud and clear that no. Doing what Red Bull suspected Ferrari was doing was not legal. They didn't call out Ferrari by name or launch an investigation, but they did say they'd start checking all the teams were playing by the rules. The funny part, suddenly...
They did somehow stir up everything. Without mentioning it. Some specific team.
Ferrari's performances fell off a cliff. In Austin, they weren't flying down the straights anymore, and they didn't get a single pole in the rest of the season. Funny that. Verstappen didn't hold back. He straight up said this is what happens when you stop cheating. Ferrari, they claimed they were just using the last races to test.
I just thought, when the Verstappen is start to show up.
Parts for the next season and focus on improving downforce. Sure, buddy. And you know what the worst part is? In the last few races of the season, Ferrari only managed one podium, with Leclerc in Abu Dhabi. And in that race, they were found to be underfueled by nearly 5 kg. Before the race, teams are required to declare exactly how much fuel they're putting in the car. So yeah, Ferrari had more fuel in the car than they officially reported, which obviously made everyone even more suspicious. I mean, how many more red flags do you need? But if you think Ferrari got disqualified or anything, nope. They kept the podium and got hit with a €50,000 fine, which in F1 terms is like finding loose change in your couch cushions. Like, what the was happening at that point, man? At the end of the season, the FIA released yet another technical directive, saying that starting in 2020, they'd be adding an extra fuel sensor to every car, just to put an end to the drama. This one was going to have encrypted data and anti-aliasing technology, randomizing the timing of the readings so teams couldn't figure out when the sensor was checking, making it impossible to pump extra fuel just between those measurements. And if you think this whole thing couldn't get any sketchier, oh boy, the real kicker came in the following year.
Okay.
You know when's the best time to announce something important, but you really don't want people making a big deal out of it? Friday afternoon. Everyone's tired, checked out, and just wants to go home and forget about the week. Well, that's exactly what the FIA did one Friday in February 2020, right at the end of pre-season testing in Barcelona. They dropped a statement saying, after a thorough investigation into Ferrari's engine, they had reached a private agreement with the team. The details? Confidential. All they said was that both parties had agreed to some vague technical commitments to help monitor power units more closely in future seasons and blah blah blah. Basically a bunch of empty words. The kind of thing a politician would say after embezzling public funds and promising to invest in vegan solar panels. So wait, they didn't say Ferrari was guilty, they didn't say they weren't guilty, and there was no punishment? What the hell? Obviously the 7 non-Ferrari powered teams were fuming. They sent 2 letters to the FIA demanding answers and expressing their disbelief at this shady, secret deal that told them absolutely nothing. And what did the FIA respond with? More fluffy nonsense. They basically said, well, we suspect something was fishy, but we couldn't actually prove it. I don't know what else I need to tell you to convince you that something shady was going on. Then came the whole COVID pandemic, which pushed the season back until June, and that's when we'd finally see how the teams really stacked up. Introducing the Ferrari SF1000, their big contender for the 2020 season, and the worst Ferrari in 4 decades. No, seriously, I'm not joking. After fighting for wins and podiums in 2019, Ferrari in 2020 was basically fighting just to score points. Only 3 podiums all season and a P6 finish in the Constructors' Championship. Way slower than the 2019 car. Not just on the straights, but in the
Because they can't cheat anymore.
corners too. That's what happens when you build a car around a beast of an engine, and suddenly you get handed a total dud. In fact, the engine had lost around 65 horsepower compared to the previous year. The car was super unstable too, with terrible aero. And now without the straight line speed advantage, it was just bad. Could that have been Ferrari's punishment from the FIA? In fact, the idea that Ferrari had allegedly been cheating in 2019 pushed other teams like Mercedes to improve even more. Since they had a strong aero package, they focused on boosting their engine, thinking they'd need to fight a super-fast Ferrari in 2020. Ex-driver and race steward Mika Salo even suggested that the FIA forced Ferrari to run with less fuel than their rivals as a punishment, which, who knows if that's true or not, but honestly, it kind of makes sense. In 2021, Ferrari bounced back a bit. Not enough to fight for wins, but definitely better. Their next victory wouldn't come until 2022, so this whole alleged cheating mess really set them back a couple of seasons. And the question everyone keeps asking is, if they really cheated that blatantly, why didn't they win? Simple, because the car was trash. They focused so much on the engine and the sneaky edge it could give them. It's like they forgot the car has other parts too. And well, it's Ferrari. So of course there were crashes, mistakes, and mechanical failures all over the place. Honestly, with a decent overall package and a bit more consistent.
What do you need to run a car? Engine. Let's build that. Nothing else. Just that. Sounds like it.
They could have won the championship. Though, who knows if that would have made things even more controversial. Then again, knowing the FIA, they probably would have just come up with some random excuse to protect them and brush it all under the rug anyway. This whole scandal is honestly one of the sketchiest F1 has seen in recent years. I've told you everything I know. Now it's up to you to decide what you believe. And if you want to keep diving into the shady side of F1, I'm pretty sure you'll love this video right here. And as always, thank you for watching.
Okay. Mysterious camera ever. Okay, what? I don't know why. I kind of thought that like everything that you are changing in your car, you need to run by, I don't know, one guy. I don't know, the plan you need to show to someone, and like everything is checked. What I was thinking, like it's so strict, and there's so many things that you could even I couldn't think of needs to be checked, and it gets checked. But like that you can just do some shady stuff to your car and no one could see until someone is just, hey, something is wrong. Yeah. That was kind of a surprise, though. I thought that they will just find some gray areas in the rule book. But, yeah, this was very interesting. Thank you for suggesting this video, and I hope you did enjoy this video. And yeah, hopefully I'm gonna see you next time. Bye!